It started as a simple project, a way to pass the time and flex my mechanical muscles. I'd always been a tinkerer, and when I stumbled across the idea of building a miniature replica of the Ford Raptor R, a beast of a truck, it struck me as the ultimate challenge. But I wanted to take it further. Instead of an electric motor or scaled-down parts, I set my sights on crafting a fully functional, miniature V8 engine to power it. The idea was audacious, bordering on absurd, and I loved every second of it. My garage became a cathedral of precision engineering. Every tool, every component, every blueprint demanded meticulous attention. I machined the parts myself, poring over schematics, trial and erroring my way through sleepless nights. Weeks turned into months. But finally, the day arrived when I set the engine into the tiny Raptor's frame. I leaned over the little truck, barely 2 feet long but a perfect replica in every way. The V8 engine gleamed like a jewel beneath the hood, its chrome and steel reflecting the overhead lights. When I turned the key, the engine roared to life with an impossibly loud, guttural growl. The sound sent shivers down my spine. It was more than I'd expected. Deeper, richer, almost as if the miniature engine contained the fury of something far larger. That was the first moment I felt it. The hum in the air, the faint vibration in my chest that seemed disproportionate to the size of the engine. But I shrugged it off. The truck wasn't just a mechanical marvel. It was fast when I took it outside and opened the throttle. It tore down the street like a rabid beast, tiny tires gripping the asphalt as if they had a mind of their own. It wasn't just speed. It was ferocity. It handled too perfectly, responded too eagerly, as though it wasn't just obeying commands but anticipating them. I told myself it was just the adrenaline of success. I'd built something extraordinary, after all. But that night, as I lay in bed, I could swear I heard the engine idling faintly in the garage, even though I'd shut it off hours ago. The next morning, I found the truck in a different position than I'd left it. I chalked it up to my own forgetfulness. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen. I'd find the little Raptor sitting at a slightly different angle, its wheels pointed in a new direction. Tools went missing from my workbench, only to reappear in odd places. Once, I found a tiny streak of tire marks on the garage floor that hadn't been there before. One night, I decided to investigate. I set up a camera in the garage and waited, watching the live feed on my laptop. 4 hours. Nothing happened. But just as I was about to give up, the truck moved. It was subtle at first. A slight shift of its wheels, a faint rev of the engine. But then it sprang to life. The headlights flickered on, casting an eerie glow. And the engine roared. It sounded different now. Less mechanical and more alive. The truck rolled forward, slow and deliberate, before stopping abruptly. The camera feed cut out. The next morning, I found the garage door slightly ajar. Outside, in the dirt, were tiny tire tracks leading to the road. It didn't make sense. I'd designed the truck to run on remote control, but the remote hadn't been touched. There was no logical explanation. Over the next few nights, I tried to catch it in the act again, but the truck seemed to know when it was being watched. It remained perfectly still whenever I observed it. But the moment I turned my back, I'd hear the faint growl of the engine. I started to notice something else. The truck wasn't just moving. It was growing. The changes were subtle at first. A slightly larger wheelbase, a deeper resonance in the engine's growl. But within a week, it was undeniably larger. The once miniature Raptor now the size of a child's go-kart. I should have dismantled it then and there. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. There was something hypnotic about the way it moved. The way it seemed to breathe. It wasn't just a machine anymore. It had presence. A kind of magnetic pull that made it impossible to look away. The truck continued to grow, doubling in size every few days. By the end of the month, it was full-sized. A monstrous, roaring beast that barely fit in my garage. The engine had transformed, too. Its growl now a deafening roar that shook the walls. And then the dreams began. In them, I was driving the Raptor, tearing through endless deserts beneath a black sky. The truck moved like a predator, hunting something I couldn't see. I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, the faint smell of gasoline lingering in the air. One night, I woke to find the Raptor missing. The garage door was wide open, and the tracks in the dirt were deep, like something heavy had torn its way out. I followed the tracks in my car, driving for miles until I found it in an empty field. The Raptor sat there, its engine idling, headlights cutting through the darkness. As I approached, the air around it seemed to ripple, like heat rising off asphalt. I reached out, and for a moment, I felt something alive, something watching me. Then the truck roared and lunged forward, tires spinning. I dove out of the way as it tore past me, disappearing into the night. I never saw it again. Weeks later, reports began to surface. People claimed to have seen a massive black Raptor tearing through back roads, its engine roaring like a beast unleashed. Some said it was a ghost truck, a spectral machine that hunted the highways. Others whispered that it wasn't a truck at all, but something else wearing the guise of one. I don't know what I created in that garage, but I know it wasn't just a machine. It was something more, something alive. And wherever it is now, I can only hope it never finds its way back to me.